welcome back to Linda's Pantry. And today, as you see in the title, we're going to go ahead and process some of this elk meat. My husband had an elk tag, a cow elk tag, and so he was successful and we're very thankful. And we process our own meat because I want to know that I didn't get somebody else's elk in return, and they weren't, you know, they never do it the way you want. Or in my experience, you know, I don't want bone fragments in my meat. I don't want over excessive amounts of fat or sinew. It's not worth it. So I'm going to go ahead and get this started. This is the last hunk of meat, and let me tell you, it took a lot for me to get it up here on the counter. It was heavy. I did the front quarters during that first 2 weeks. This stayed in a cooler with the air circulating around it for 2 weeks. And what happens is the natural process of it breaking down, it breaks down real slow because it's refrigerated, but it starts concentrating the flavors and it starts tenderizing your meat, just like they do with beef. If you've never had a dry aged steak, or, I mean, the beef that you get in the grocery store has been aged for 28 days. They hang it in a cooler. They don't just cut it up the day they butcher. So I don't want anything to go to waste, and the glaze that forms on here from being dry, I cut that off. This gets cut off for my dogs, and sometimes I'll dry it like beef jerky for them, but they like it just as well put in a pot with some sweet potatoes. And so this gets you down to the meat that you need. And for those of you that know or that have dry aged, let's say a ribeye, you have to do this. So that being said, the shank portion of this is all going to be stew meat, and then this I'll make a couple roasts, and the rest will be steaks for us, and it's going to be delicious. I absolutely love this. We had stew last night, and it's the best stew on the planet. So that being said, let's get started. And I'll bring you in close. If you like this kind of stuff, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Share this on your Facebook page, and go down in the About section below and check out all the links that I've left for you. I'll have a link to this knife. It's very inexpensive, but I'm telling you, it makes quick work of this, and because it's small, you take less chance of cutting yourself. So, and that, it really is easy to cut yourself when you're doing something like this. So, I'll bring you a little closer and let you see what I'm doing. Okay, so I've got the shank portion of this. This still weighs about 10, 15 pounds, it feels like. Cut away from the main portion. It takes a little bit of work, but you can do it. And I used the small knife as well as a boning knife. It makes the job much easier. So all this gristle and everything, we don't need that. The dogs love it though, let me tell you. And it's so good for them. So we're going to start whittling away. That's all I do is whittle and whittle and whittle until I get it all whittled up. And I think I'll bring you along for how I cook this up for the dogs. I'll do a video. I've kind of changed over the years. Years ago I did a video on how I made my dog's homemade dog food add-on, because I've always cooked for my dogs. And then I used to use quite a bit of grains, and since then I've found out that grains are really not that good for your dogs, and it's just a filler, and it's not a natural food. So I'd rather add in healthy vegetables and fruit rather than a filler. And I buy grain-free dog food, so they get this as a supplement for extra protein, and you know what? I love them. I love them. So I'm going to treat them. So now that I've got all the outer glaze, or as much as I need to cut off this shank, then you're going to go in and you're going to see this big hunk over here, and all it's connected. You just follow the muscle down. That makes sense. And cut that away, because it's part of it, but it doesn't need to be connected anymore. So cut that away. And that's just a beautiful, and then any further trimming that you need to do, it's hard to get on a round surface, so now I can cut off that glaze there before I cut this up into stew meat. And that's exactly what this is going to be, is beautiful stew meat. And like I said, we had stew last night that was out of this world, and I made dumplings, and now we got to get this off the bone. And so I just literally, if you look, you've got where it attaches to the bone. You're just gonna go and start pulling it away. And it's not that hard, it really isn't. I try to keep the knife at all times connected, the side of it, not the actual blade, or you'll go your blade. The dogs can have the bones. And remember, don't ever give your dogs cooked bones. That their digestive system can handle the raw, and it breaks it down, and they handle any bacteria very well. That's what they were designed to do. The cooked bones can splinter and actually end up killing your dog if they perforate an intestine, or cause, surgery. So down here at this end is a pretty good piece of gristle, or tendon, I guess, if you see that, and that you just got to cut through that. So I'm going to keep whittling and show you how this goes. So if you're new and you've got a tag, I ran into somebody, and see, now I've got it pretty much almost done off the bone here. I ran into somebody that first time they'd ever hunted, and they wanted to know how to do this, and I actually told her I would put up a video, even though I have a couple of them on YouTube. I've got some processing your venison video, so you can go ahead and go watch those. You might actually get a piece of information that may not be in this one. So now that bone is ready for the dog's consumption. You could keep this, clean it up really good, and keep it, and cut it and keep it for stock if you wanted to, but we never do. I'm not opposed to it by any means, but I haven't done that. So the dogs end up, see that piece of gristle? Cut that out of there as far back as you can. That will break down though during the cooking. So here you have this beautiful hunk of meat now ready to be cut up into stew meat. So let's get this away. And then to do this job, I have my very, very good butcher knife. And this is, it's a Wusthof. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. That's very sharp, but it cuts through all that sinew and gristle that's in the connective tissue. And look at that. Isn't that beautiful? That is going to make the best stew. And then I just cut it up into stew meat chunks. And you don't have to do that if you want to just braise it more whole. You could do that as well. But that's how I do it. So I'm going to get the rest of this cut up in my stainless steel bowl. Then I'll put that in the refrigerator while I'm taking care of this big hunk of meat back here. It's a lot of work, but that's okay. And this particular piece right here that I'm cutting, this is a big roast. You could leave this whole or half it. I come in here and get this away from the rest of it. And I usually cut it in half, but I might leave this one whole and use that for my chorizo because it's very lean. There's no, gristle running through it, and mix that with the other ingredients. And you'll have to mix a fat in, obviously. But as you can see, I've almost got this piece off. All right, I'm back. So as you can see, I got this roast off of here. And then it leaves you another roast exposed, which I like to call it the eye of the round because that's what it reminds me of. It's right here, right underneath it. And I like to leave that one or cut it into steaks, and they're just delicious. But quite often I'll leave that one whole because I can butterfly it out. Let's get that off there for you. And again, I can stuff it, or I can cut it into beautiful little medallions and have these wonderful steaks. Either way, it's delicious. And there's another roast. And then what I do is I go ahead and clean it up, because you can see there's some spots here that need to be cleaned up on that. No worries. And then I come under here where this silver skin is, get my knife under there, and just pull that off, because this roast most likely will end up to be some sort of a sausage. And so I don't want that on there. If I don't do it now, I gotta do it later, so you might as well just do it. And just a little, just at the end there where it connects the connective tissue to the bone. So that roast is done. It's beautiful. Probably about 3 or 4 pounds here. And there we go. Get any extra cleanup you want to do, and you're good to go. All right, there's a gorgeous elk roast, and we're gonna put that in the bowl. Clean up this. Oh yeah, this is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. All right, guys. I probably will bring you back when I'm all ready to package up the meat now, because we're gonna just take it off section by section and basically do the same thing. So I'll see you in a bit. All right, guys, so I'm done finally, and it took me 2 hours and 2 hours and 15 minutes, sorry, for this hindquarter. So times that pretty much by 4. That's how much time invested you'll have in an elk. Less time in a deer, but that's with grinding some of the meat and everything. I'm not done, so we're gonna say 2.5 hours, because it's gonna take me another 15-20 minutes to package this up. But I got 2 big packages of what I call dog food off of that, so nothing went to waste. And they have 2 big bones to chew on. There in heaven. And this is how I do it. And somebody asked me in our hunting video, how much meat would you get from that elk? And it depends, of course, how much the elk weighs, but any animal, you can figure that you've got about 2/3 waste because of hide and internal organs that you're not keeping, all that stuff, you know, stuff that's not edible. And bone. I mean, and that's with any animal across the board, right down to a cow. So we probably, honest and truly, have about 175 to 200 pounds of meat, edible meat, which is fantastic. We don't eat red meat a lot, and when we do, I'd rather it be venison or elk. So I've got some steaks here, and I just package them up 2 at a time. You know, if I think the size is not the same, I might add a 3rd one, but that's plenty for Michael and I. And then I know that, you know, when they come out of the freezer, I can do, you know, I can adjust. So I'm gonna take my glove off for demonstration purposes. And this bowl is so cold. The meat was very cold. I had to periodically stop and put my hands under warm water because it was kind of painful. But that's how cold you want it. So here's my package of steaks. I've got my butcher paper, and I do this in a freezer Ziploc. Now I have a food saver, and everybody's gonna ask, why don't you use the food saver? And this is my 3rd one, and I like it for certain things, but it's very disappointing to go through all this time and trouble and open your freezer and realize that your food saver bag has lost its seal, and now you have freezer burn. I have never had freezer burn like this, even after 4 years. Not that we ate it after 4 years, but we definitely will cook it up for the dogs. So I'm gonna get this all packaged. I label it exactly what I'm doing, label it, and get it in the freezer. And I hope this inspires you to maybe do your own if you're not used to this. And it's not that hard. If I can do it, anybody can do it. And gosh, guys, you're doing something good for your family. All right, guys, I can't wait to see you next time for another delicious recipe. And I bet, I'm just guessing, it might involve some elk. All right, I'll see you next time.